I'll tell you, man, that last episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, episode 4, that one had me thinking for a while, yo. It was something that you could see coming from a mile away. Like, it was obviously teased throughout the series. From the very beginning, they introduced the U.S. agent as a character. But actually seeing how it was executed was just tremendous. Now, I want to talk about episode 5 called Truth, the follow-up to that episode. This episode was radically different from the previous episode. Now, when this show first started, I remember reading somewhere, don't remember exactly where, that it was going to be 6 episodes and that it was going to be structured sort of like 3 movies. So, like, each episode's about 50 minutes to an hour long. And so it was like episode 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, like that were like one big movie. I didn't really notice that with episodes 3 and 4. I kind of did with the first 2, but here with episode 5 of Falcon and Winter Soldier, it was very apparent. Like, this episode felt like the first half of an MCU film. Like, you could actually, and I'm sure somebody will, take this episode and probably splice it with episode 6 next week and you have one big movie. Because that's what it felt like. Like, this episode was essentially focused on the aftermath of the events of what happened in the previous episode with the U.S. agent and his choices, I guess you could say, and also build up to episode 6. This episode was a lot of it was build up, a lot of it was very emotional and very powerful. It was not an action-packed episode outside of the first, maybe 15 minutes. And if you're looking for just action with this show, like, you're gonna get it, but you're not gonna get it like all the time. And I don't know how people are; everybody's different. But this episode really felt like a lot of things that have me thinking. A lot of things happened, So the U.S. agent snaps, and he's buckling under the pressure of being Captain America. Which again, we saw that coming from a mile away. But remember, just because the story is predictable does not necessarily make it bad if it makes sense. And this made sense because filling Steve Rogers' shoes is impossible. And so John has to figure out how to be his own guy, which hopefully he will by the end of the series. Sam and Bucky confront him and they want the shield back, but he's not going to just put it down. And they have this 2-on-1 fight at the beginning of the episode. And that pretty much was your action scene of the episode. There wasn't really much else in this episode as far as action goes. Great choreography, though. Great action. And it's kind of a tragic story. We found out that Isaiah Bradley was indeed dead. He did get killed in the previous episode, which I'm pretty surprised about. I didn't expect that to happen. And that's why U.S. Agent snapped. And there's a scene where he rips off one of Falcon's wings. He's about to kill him, but Bucky saves him. All 3 of them get laid out. This was a brutal, brutal fight, yo. So what ends up happening is shortly afterward, John Walker actually loses his role as Captain America. Like, his choices cost him dearly. And because of that, at some point, Sam gets the shield back, right? Meanwhile, a few other things are going on, because there's been a bit of a time skip here. The Flag Smashers are preparing for war, for one more attack, and Zemo is trying to tempt Bucky into killing Carly. Because Zemo wants to get rid of all the super soldiers. So it becomes a test of Bucky's sort of will to kind of figure out what his move is going to be. So we have a interesting conversation with Falcon and the older super soldier. And Falcon's trying to figure out everything. And how everything went to shit. And really, it's a very emotional scene. And one that discusses what the military really does to people. Because if you pay attention to Captain America, the movies, just the Captain America trilogy, you could focus on the Avengers stuff too, but I want to put focus on specifically Winter Soldier. A lot of people think that Winter Soldier is the best MCU film. Not my favorite, but it definitely was for a while when it first came out, because it was great. But the thing about the Winter Soldier, the themes of the Winter Soldier, is that Captain America, and really the theme of Steve Rogers, is that he wants to be a hero. He wants to represent America and represent what America was. And that's like justice, and that's being sort of this patriotic good, this truthful good, and caring about people and saving lives, right? But that's not what America became. And this series really goes deep into, especially this episode, yo. Because when you find out what happened and the past and whatnot, and also what ties in with Winter Soldier, even in Winter Soldier, and it was discussed before and after, but can you really trust the government? Who can you trust? Who can you really, really trust? And, you know, in Winter Soldier, we saw that Hydra was actually secretly alive, hiding within the shield. And here, it's like these people that join the military initially want to do good, but they witness so many atrocities and they witness so many things that will just warp your mind. I mean, we saw what happened to U.S. Agent just based on his history, and it's a recurring theme. And so it becomes a question of, why do we keep coming back and being heroes? You know, that's one dilemma. And the other dilemma is Bucky sort of like, there's a conversation later in the episode with Sam and Bucky when Sam's training with the Shield, and Sam is telling Bucky, like, look, like, you're an Avenger in that you're trying to avenge your sins to make up for it, but you also can't lose sight of who you are. And you got to stop letting other people decide who you are, because it's true, like, Bucky's whole life he's been sort of in a kind of quasi-submissive position, you know. He's always been mind-controlled, and now he's free from that thanks to the Wakandans, and he wants to be able to, and Sam wants him to be able to sort of become his own man, you know, really become his own man. Not the next Captain America, not the Winter Soldier, just be who he wants to be. So, it's pretty interesting. You know, it's interesting because, like, this episode encapsulates the Winter Soldier thematics again, and done very well. Now, there's some lighthearted moments with Falcon and his sister. A lot of racial stuff, too, in this episode about the oppression of black people and, you know, undertones. It's not outwardly really stated that much, but it's there. And, you know, one scene I want to talk about is when John goes to visit Isaiah's family, and they're very distraught over. That's when you find out he's actually dead. And, you know, he's got his own ideas. He's got his own, I guess, story to play. Now, one part about this, I'm going to have to go back and watch it, because I'm reviewing this thing right after I see it for the first time. Was that Sharon Carter on the phone with one of the villains, bro, with GSP or whatever? Like, I couldn't tell. I mean, it was French, so it sounded like GSP. But, by the way, GSP comes back at the end of this episode with Carly. So and he wants to kill the Falcon. So there's a whole story there. So, is Sharon Carter trying to get the Falcon killed? Like, is that what's going on? The reason why I'm asking is because, number one, it happened so fast that I almost missed it. And number two, like, if she's evil, like, when did that happen? When did Sharon Carter become corrupted? Yo, that was certainly very unexpected. Or was it the wrong, like, did I even see that right? I don't know, that was weird. So, is she the secret, like, real villain of this show? Or is it going to end up being the U.S. agent when he snaps and tries to kill somebody? Like, what's going to be the real story here? Or is Bucky going to turn and eventually get him to kind of relax and learn to be more like him and be more like Steve Rogers and sort of create that, the real Captain America, the task force that is needed to help? So the Flag Smashers, you know, the big finale of the episode is Falcon's training with the Shield, and the Flag Smashers have targeted New York City as their next big target. So once again, New York's getting attacked, as if that hasn't happened before, especially just in the MCU. And Falcon's ready to go to work. He's ready to go. And they tease that he's got like maybe he's got a Captain America suit. I don't know, but they tease something at the end here that's going to get paid off, in episode 6, which is the finale. Next week's episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier is the finale of this season, probably this series. And I'm wondering where it's going to go, because this show has served as an epilogue to the Captain America saga. But is it going to be building up to something greater? You know, is this going to end up leading us into something, or will it just wrap up a self-contained story? Also, what's up with Zemo? What's his place going to be in the finale? Overall, this episode, I still liked episode 4 more, but this episode was a much slower paced, much more dialogue, character-centric episode. Everybody got development and introspection. Everybody did. You know, everybody from Zemo to Falcon to Buck, everybody got it. And it's all building up to the big finale next week. We'll see what happens. I'm expecting a big action sequence in New York City. I'm expecting maybe some cameos, maybe. I mean, we already saw War Machine in the first episode. Why can't he come back? You know, Rhodey. I don't know, but this was a good... Overall, this show, just so far, my thoughts so far, this show is not quite as fun as WandaVision was, because WandaVision had a lot of fun and comedy in it, and mystery. But as far as rewatchability goes, this definitely has more of it, because the conversations are deeper, the backstories are more rich, and the characters are more interesting, if you ask me. I mean, I think Vision was the most interesting character in WandaVision. I think here it's a toss-up because all these characters are interesting for different reasons. So I'm not saying I like it more. We'll see how the finale plays out, but it's definitely going to be one that I'm going to be rewatching and paying more attention to really focus in on some of these deeper character moments. Thumbs up, yo. Great episode. Great show so far. And let's see where episode 6 goes. Thanks for watching and take care of yourself.